Sometimes the heart carries storms that no one sees. Sometimes even when you have everything, you feel completely alone sometimes. Money builds tall walls around you instead of bringing people closer. Sometimes all you really want is a friend who listens and stays. My name is Aria, and before I begin my story, I want you to stay with me till the very end because maybe somewhere inside my words you will find a reflection of your own heart. I was born into a world most people only see in movies. A world of polished marble floors, private jets, glittering business dinners, and a father whose name alone could shake the stock market, but none of that ever gave me peace. I used to sit in my enormous bedroom that felt more like a museum than a home, looking at the city lights outside my window and wondering why the world felt so distant. I had everything except the one thing. I wanted most real affection, honest connection, a friend who cared for me without wanting anything in return. When I was a child, I never told my classmates who my parents were because I wanted someone to choose me for my personality, not my inheritance, and that habit followed me into adulthood like a shadow. One day I met a boy named Ethan. He was warm, simple, gentle, the kind of person who talked to everyone with the same kindness, whether they were rich or poor, and for the first time I felt seen. We talked for hours. He laughed at my silliness. He listened when I opened my heart, and he never once asked about my background. I hid my real identity because I wanted our relationship to be based on sincerity, not wealth. Months later, he asked me to meet his family at a party, and for a moment my heart fluttered with hope. Maybe this time I would find people who welcomed me with open arms. Maybe they would see me for who I truly was, not for what I owned. I remember standing in front of my closet that day, staring at rows of designer dresses, but choosing instead a simple, soft cotton dress, faded at the edges, something humble, something comfortable, something that showed who I am without the layers of privilege. I tied my hair loosely, wore no expensive jewelry, no makeup. I wanted to meet them as Aria, the girl with dreams, not Aria, the billionaire. As we arrived at their home, I felt nervous but also excited. I hoped they would feel like the family I had wished for all my life, but the moment I stepped inside, I felt a coldness wrap around me like an unwelcome wind. His mother looked at me from top to bottom with eyes that judged, not observed. His sister forced a smile, tight and sharp, like she had bitten into something bitter. His father did not even offer a greeting. He just nodded stiffly while looking past me like I was invisible. I tried to stay calm, reminding myself maybe they were just surprised, maybe they needed time to warm up, maybe I was imagining it, but their whispers cut through the air like knives. Words like cheap, low class, unrefined floated around me, spoken just loud enough for me to hear, and my heart sank. I stood next to Ethan, hoping he would say something, hoping he would defend me, but he just stayed silent, shifting uncomfortably, looking at the floor, and that silence hurt more than their insults. They served food but offered me nothing. They joked but never included me. They talked about vacations, cars, business deals, all while ignoring me as if I was a stain on the evening. I kept smiling, even though my chest felt tight, my eyes burning, as if tears were begging to fall. I wanted to run, but I forced myself to stay because I wanted to understand why people believe poverty or simplicity equals worthlessness. As I stood there pretending not to hear their cruel comments, I wondered how many others in this world face humiliation daily, not because of who they are, but because of what they don't have. That night taught me that money may protect you from many things, but it cannot protect you from the cruelty of people who judge without knowing. After the party ended, I walked out quietly, feeling like a part of my heart had died, but I made a promise to myself someday they would know the truth, not for revenge, but so they understood the weight of their cruelty toward someone who only wanted kindness. Dear listener, if you are still with me, trust me. This was only the beginning, and what happened later changed everything in ways no one could have imagined. The morning after that cruel party, I woke up with swollen eyes and a heavy heart, staring at the ceiling while questions kept circling inside my mind. Why are people so quick to measure worth through money? Why do clothes and brands matter more Then kindness, I kept hearing their voices again and again, the laughter, the mockery, the whispers that stabbed deeper than any knife. I had never felt so small in my life, and yet I tried to smile because I did not want to give them the power to destroy me. I wanted to believe that love could conquer arrogance, that maybe Ethan would stand up for me, that maybe his silence was fear. Not shame, but the truth is, silence speaks volumes when someone watches you break and does nothing to stop it. I went to work the next day, keeping my identity hidden. As always, I preferred being seen as a regular woman, earning her place, rather than the billionaire daughter of rich parents who ruled industries. But deep down, my heart ached. I had wanted a family, not fortune. I wanted warmth, not luxury. That same week, I received a message from my father's assistant, reminding me about an upcoming event, a legal announcement that would officially name me as the only heir to my father's company and empire. I had been delaying it for months because I never wanted to be seen differently. I just wanted peace, but fate had its own plans. I could not avoid it anymore. Within a few days, the whole world would know who I truly was. I felt torn between revealing the truth or walking away forever from people who saw me as worthless. I did not know what to do. Meanwhile, Ethan called me less and less. His mother made sure to keep him away from me. She even messaged me one night saying, "Stay away from my son. He deserves better than a poor girl like you." Those words burned, but I stayed calm. I told myself one day she would regret judging hearts by wealth. As days passed, their cruelty only deepened. They started spreading lies about me, that I was using Ethan, that I had no background, no class. His sister mocked me, publicly calling me desperate and low. Their father told Ethan he was ruining his reputation by dating me. Every moment became heavier than the last. I tried to keep hope alive, but inside, something was breaking. The night before the announcement, I sat alone on my bed, staring at an old photo of my parents, remembering my mother telling me kindness is the truest form of wealth. I whispered to myself, maybe tomorrow, the truth will show them what real worth looks like. The next morning came bright and cold. The venue was filled with reporters, celebrities, business leaders, all waiting for the moment the world would know the name of the new heir to the empire. My heart pounded as I stepped onto the stage, cameras flashing, microphones reaching out, flashes blinding me. I took a deep breath and smiled, remembering every cruel word from that party, remembering how they looked at me like, I was nothing. And then the host announced, my name, Aria Kingsley, daughter of business magnate Leon Kingsley, the only heir to $1 billion global empire. For a second, I saw the world freeze, and I could almost hear the gasps of disbelief echoing across the hall. My photo appeared on every screen. Journalists rushed to capture every detail of the girl they thought was invisible. And I knew somewhere out there Ethan and his family were watching, realizing the poor girl they mocked was richer than they could ever imagine. I did not smile out of pride. I smiled out of peace, because I knew the truth was finally out and destiny had spoken louder than any insult they ever threw at me. That evening, when I finally gathered the courage to visit their home again, the air felt different, heavy, cold, trembling with the weight of the truth. As I stepped inside, their faces turned pale, like every drop of color had drained out of them. The same people who had mocked my dress, insulted my simplicity, belittled my existence, now stood frozen, unable to believe that the girl they treated like dirt was the heiress. The entire nation was talking about his mother, the woman who once called me low class, hurried toward me with a shaking smile, her voice suddenly sweet like honey, hiding the sourness beneath. She reached for my hands, calling me dear, as if we had always been close. His father, who had not even bothered to greet me before, now nodded respectfully, bowing his head slightly, and his sister, the one who had laughed at me in front of her friends, now rushed forward, pretending nothing ever happened, pretending she had always liked me. But their eyes betrayed them. They were not looking at me, they were looking at my worth, the worth they had never cared to see before. And in that moment, I felt a strange emptiness blooming inside me. I waited for anger, but instead sadness washed over me, because now I knew the truth clearer than ever. They never cared about my heart, my smile, my sincerity. They cared only about what I could give them, what I could bring to their status, what they could gain from my family name. Ethan peered behind them, his face a blend of shame, fear, and desperation. He whispered my name like it carried the last hope he had. He tried to take my hand, but I stepped back and he froze. I asked him calmly why he stayed silent that night, why he let them insult me, why he let me stand alone fighting. Humiliation. While he looked at the floor and said nothing, he opened his mouth, but no words came because some truths have no defense. Tears filled his eyes, but mine had already dried long ago. I told him that love without courage is not love at all, and that silence in the face of cruelty is the loudest betrayal I could ever experience. His parents tried to interrupt, begging me to sit, begging me to talk, begging me to give them a chance, but their voices sounded like echoes drifting far away because my heart had already walked out of that house long before my feet did. I told them I never needed money from anyone. I never needed luxury or gifts or influence. All I ever wanted was kindness, simple, honest kindness. I wanted to be welcomed, not measured. I wanted to be valued, not judged. I wanted to be seen as a person, not a price tag. I looked at all of them and asked one question. The question that had burned in me since the night of the party: would you have treated me with respect if you knew I was rich from the beginning? Their silence was louder than their insults, louder than their apologies, louder than any words they could ever speak. After a long pause, I smiled a sad, soft smile and whispered, "You answered my question." By saying nothing, I turned to leave, and Ethan reached for my hand, begging me not to go, begging for another chance, promising he would change, but I gently pulled my hand away, telling him I deserve a love that protects, not hides, a love that stands beside me, not behind fear, a love that values my heart, not my inheritance. The moment I stepped outside, the cold air touched my face, and I felt lighter, freer, stronger, like I had finally reclaimed parts of myself that I had allowed others to break. As I walked down the street under the soft glow of the evening lights, I made a promise to myself I would build a life where love is real, where people choose me for my soul, not my status, where kindness is treasured more than wealth. And as I tell you this, dear listener, I want you to remember something that took me years to understand. Money can buy a house, but it cannot create a home. It can buy attention, but not loyalty. It can buy admiration, but never love. Choose the people who see your heart before they see anything else, because true worth lives in the soul, not in the wallet. And in the end, the richest person is the one surrounded by genuine hearts, not shiny things.